Hey YouTube, Brian LCS, and welcome to the Ultimate Spider-Man number 2 review. So let us jump in. And here is the synopsis. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superhero and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. In a quest to free the world from the Maker's council, Tony Stark sent Peter, now a married father of two, a package containing the same radioactive spider and a Picotech suit. After watching his uncle, Ben Parker, and mentor Jonah Jameson leave the Daily Beagle over pressure from the Beagle's owner, Wilson Fisk, to control the news cycle, Peter felt called to action to let the spider bite him. And this is kind of where we pick up, where we left off from last issue, and just take a look quick at the creative team. Jonathan Hickman writing, Marco Cicchetto artist, colorist Matt Wilson, and letterer Corey Petit. And so we see February, and we see Spider-Man swinging around in what looks to be the original black suit, the symbiote suit, but there's nothing on his chest. So interesting. But that will develop as we go. And we see May and Richard, Peter and Mary Jane's two children. They're talking, and May has looks like a tablet, a photo of this new Spider-Man on the Daily Bugle. It happened to be a shot that Peter Parker took, and they're talking about it. And May mentions that it's kind of scary in the dark suit, and there's back and forth about whether it's real, it could be photoshopped, and all of these things with Richard and May. And, Peter kind of talks to them about, May, do you remember, do you believe in unicorns? Are unicorns real? And she says yes. And so there's this kind of, little banter, family banter back and forth. And then Mary Jane is heading out to work. And, she basically says, she mentions to him, "Hey, have you been working out?" Because and he says yes. So has noticed the changes in him since the spider bite. And so then we cut back to Peter out in the city swinging around and kind of getting used to his new abilities. Right, this is all new to him. His strength. He's noticed that he is eating a lot more, like 10,000 calories a day, and he needs a lot less sleep. And he's, his strength and his web abilities. But there's this funny little moment here where he says the one thing he hasn't mastered yet is stopping. And so he crashes into a water tower here, and the water kind of trickles, over him, and he's still got some stuff to learn. And then he notices something going on. And so we'll get back to that, because now we cut to Ben and J. Jonah, and they're in a Turkish bathhouse, and they're in the steam room here, and they're having this conversation, and kind of this funny little banter. And this has kind of been J. Jonah has been kind of we're only 2 issues in, but he seems to be more sympathetic, not the crazy get Spider-Man type thing. Well, Spider-Man hasn't existed, so maybe that's part of it. So, but he's having this conversation about him with Ben about never eating breakfast, and is that healthy? And all he does is drink coffee in the morning, and so it's just kind of little banter back and forth. And so they continue to talk about their plans. What are they going to do now that they've left the Daily Bugle? And that there's this Spider-Man on the cover. And there's been some attempts on Wilson Fisk, by this mysterious green character and flying around. And so they basically say that Wilson is kind of smoke and mirrors with the newspaper, not really telling the real story. And they mention about Peter still working for the Daily Bugle, and that they can't really fault him because they haven't really started their business yet, and it's not like they could hire him. So then we cut back to Peter swinging around the city, like I said, kind of getting used to his new abilities. And he spots somebody in a rooftop here, and it's the Shocker. And what's interesting is, he's a different, he looks different than the classic Shocker that we've seen, but you kind of know it's the Shocker. Um, and so there's this little conversation, Spider-Man rolls up on him and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" He says, "Oh, I'm sorry." He basically kind of explains like, "Look, I'm sorry. I really, this is a bad decision. I shouldn't be breaking in, into this place." And so there's this kind of little back and forth with them. And then ultimately we see that the Shocker basically, tricks Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man being a little naive, gets blasted and thrown off the building here. And Parker's like, damn, he fooled me. And so then we see him, now Peter's back home. And we see his mask he didn't pull his mask off. It basically just comes away from his face as he's eating, which is pretty interesting. So, I'm sure we'll know more about the suit as it develops. And so he's eating some ice cream. Like I said, he's eating about 20,000 calories. And then May walks in, and she's scared because she doesn't like the black costume. In that earlier scene, she said it basically frightens her. And so Peter has to quickly kind of do some damage control here and just say, "Hey, it's me, it's Daddy. Don't be upset." And kind of talks her through it, and says, "Look, he tells his daughter that he is this spider character, and that we need to keep this a secret right now. That it's our little secret." And May agrees, and his secret is safe for now. And then we cut to Wilson, Wilson Fisk here at the Daily Bugle, and we have this character here, which I believe is Captain Britain. It is Henry, I forget his last name, but it is Captain Britain in the Ultimate Universe here. And so there's this conversation kind of going about the attempts on his Wilson Fisk's life, and what are we doing about that? And so that little kind of side conversation. And then we see Peter texting with the family, almost home, basically just saying, "Are you almost here?" And so yep, he's planning on coming home. It's pretty interesting because I don't really recall any of in some other Spider-Man books, some of the highlight of the text messages and things like that. So I thought that was a nice little touch. And so again, now Spider-Man runs into the Shocker again. Second night in a row, he's out and about, doing some crime, stealing some money. And again, the Shocker says, "Oh, I'm sorry, my wife's sick. I need money for medicine," and things like that. And so basically fools him again. Fools him again, and then because Peter actually tries to web him up, but then he gets tricked again and gets knocked off the building by the Shocker again. So again, we see this now 2 times in a row that Peter's still learning about being a hero and how to deal with with bad guys and not falling for their line of BS. And so pretty interesting. I'm sure that will develop, and he'll quickly pick those things up. And then we see what we believe to be the Green Goblin, who has been making some attempts on Wilson Fisk. And we don't know that story. We don't really know why or who is the Green Goblin. And then we end the issue where Peter goes back home. And again, you see him, in the refrigerator eating a bunch of stuff. And he sees a little letter from May. And May mentions, "Dad, I drew a picture for you, a picture of your spider. I hope you like it." And we see kind of the black, the red and blue, the kind of classic Spider-Man colors. So we'll see what happens with his suit. And then the last line here is pretty interesting. It says, it says, "Face it, I might not be cut out for this. Or maybe I'll just give it one more day. And so, there's a whole storyline, one more day storyline. So I don't know if that's a little, throw or dig at that storyline, or just, is that foreshadowing something in the future? But we'll see, because the whole one bad day thing was, where MJ and Peter were not together anymore. So that's where we leave off, and we see the preview for issue number 3, and we see some of the other Ultimate titles. Ultimate Black Panther and Ultimate X-Men is coming up next month, or in March. So overall, the hype is real about this book for me. It is just a very good, a well-written Spider-Man story. The art is fantastic. Very, it's very good art. And so, I like I said, I think the hype is real. I mean, for a long-time Spider-Man reader, this is just a great story that we wanted to see. Most Spider-Man fans want Peter with MJ, and now he has a family, he's a father, and now, we're seeing kind of an older Peter Parker learn being Spider-Man, like we initially saw when he was a teenager. And so there's got a lot of elements there that are familiar, but a lot of new stuff as well. And so for me, we're only 2 issues in. This series has been, it's hit it out of the ballpark, right? It's an amazing start to the series. I hope it continues. Like I said, the artwork is fantastic. So my webhead review, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. I'm going to go with a solid 4 webheads for this issue. I think this, like I said, it's off to a great start. It's keeping you interested, although there's not, there's maybe a lot of dialogue, but there's enough action in it, and there's a lot of unknown things that we're still trying to figure out in this universe that keeps it interesting. So, although there's not this, big drawn out, action, battles, fights, those type of things, but there's still enough there within that story. So, like I said, 4 webheads, solid issue number 2. Excited to see where they take the series. And there's just so much hype around the Ultimate universe right now with all the other Ultimate titles. And they just, I think they just announced the Ultimate series as well. So, so be on the lookout for my review for issue number 3. It'll be next month. They're only publishing this title once a month, which is a nice break, because Amazing Spider-Man gets published, every 2 weeks. And so just having 12 issues a year and an annual, I'm assuming that's how they're going to continue to run this. But who knows? Marvel may change that in the future. But anyway, a great issue 2. If you're not reading this, and if you're any type of Spider-Man fan, I strongly suggest it. I know the issue number 1 is crazy on the secondary market. Maybe pick it up, see if you can read it digitally if you didn't pick this up. But I think it's definitely worth your time to read this book. So that's what I got for you. Leave me, let me know in the comments what you think. Are you reading this? What do you think of the whole, revamped Ultimate Universe? And am I right here? What do you think of the artwork? What do you think of the story? Leave me a comment. A little bit longer of a video today, but that's what I got for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.